The next day. What? Prosecutor Von Karma? You mean... No, I heard it's his successor this time. Successor? Manfred Von Karma was a really sinister man. He pulled all sorts of nasty tricks, all so he could win. He was a man obsessed with the word perfection. He had a perfect record for 40 long years. Who knows what sorts of dirty tricks he used to get each of those guilty verdicts. And now, his successor? I wonder what kind of person they will turn out to be. It's no good. Mystic Maya. Pearly! You showed up. Thanks for coming all this way. I was really worried about you. Hey, where's your mother? Didn't you two come together? Mother is watching over the trainees. She said they have training for 2 days straight with no breaks. Huh? Then you came all here all by yourself? Yep, I snuck out of the manor and followed a map. Don't tell me you walked all the way here. Of course not. I ran. I can't. Oh my. If it takes 2 hours by train. Oh man. Really? What about the train? Huh? What's a train? I give up. It's time, isn't it? I'm really scared. What if Von Karma tries to do something to me? At least I know Mr. Edgeworth would be nicer to me than Von Karma. Mr. Edgeworth? Who was that? He's Nick's rival. Well, he's also a friend. I still remember him as though I've seen him only yesterday. Every trial was a scorchingly fierce battle until the very end. It was always back and forth with them, but when you're rivals for life... Maya, please don't mention that name ever again. Huh? But why, Nick? I'm sorry, Maya, I forgot you don't know. He's gone, and he's not coming back. What? Wait a second. What's that supposed to mean? The court will commence shortly. Please proceed into the courtroom. Let's go. Now's not the time to talk about that anyway. Nick. Court is now in session for the trial of JFA. Are the prosecution and defense prepared? There's Von Karma. What is with this kid? Ahem. Mr. Wright, are you prepared? Huh? Yes, Your Honor. Why does he always seem mad at me? Mr. Phoenix Wright. You must be a little shocked because I'm a woman, correct? Hold on. So she's the famed successor to Prosecutor Von Karma? I am Franziska Von Karma, the Prodigy. I see. I gave up a promising career in Germany and came to this country for one sole reason. Revenge. Revenge? Is this about her father, Manfred Von Karma? If it's something of a personal nature, I'm sure you can... Ow! I'm talking. If you interrupt again, my whelp will do the speaking for me. Please speak with your mouth like a normal person. I beg of you. Ah! Make no mistake, I will defeat you. Prepare to go down, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Prosecutor Von Karma, your opening statement, please. Those of Von Karma blood have only one fate, and that is perfection. The defendant, Maya Fey, will find no escape from her guilt on my watch. Very well. What is the defense's proposition? Your Honor, does the defense wish to enter a plea of not guilty? Yes. Foolish fool who foolishly dreams of foolish dreams. 10 minutes. I give the defense 10 minutes before it changes its plea. That's right. I'll have you running for the justified self-defense plea in no time. Justified self-defense? A plea usually reserved for when a person unintentionally killed in defense of themselves. We could very easily make a solid case that it was self-defense, but the defense stands by the plea of not guilty, Your Honor, because to plead justified self-defense is to say you did kill someone. How foolish. If that's how you want to play it, Mr. Phoenix Wright, then I shall now call the first witness. She's just as scary as her father. Like father, like daughter, I suppose. Gumshoe! The witness? Your name and occupation? Yes, sir. My name is Dick Gumshoe. I'm a detective at the local precinct. Get to the point already. Explain to the court the details of this murder. Yes, sir. If everyone would please look at this map. The channeling chamber has no windows, and the door was locked shut. At the time of the murder, only the victim and the defendant were in the room. What were they doing in there? They were channeling a spirit, sir. Channeling a spirit? That's quite the look of disbelief there, Your Honor. Anyway, a few minutes after the channeling started, gunshots were heard coming from inside the room, sir. A few of the witnesses broke down the door and rushed into the room. And that's when they found that the victim was already dead, correct? I believe this is one of the most open-shut cases I've ever presided over. So, how was the victim killed? I was about to get to that. Stop wasting my time then. The direct cause of death was the pistol shot to the forehead, sir. The shot was fired from point-blank range. But before the victim was shot, sir, he was stabbed in the chest. The wound was very severe, but not enough to cause instantaneous death. The murderer used the pistol to finish the victim off after the stabbing. So the victim was stabbed before being shot. This is the victim's autopsy report, sir. After being stabbed in the chest, he was shot in the forehead at point blank. The court accepted into evidence. Mr. Phoenix Wright, you may question the witness. Here we go! The direct cause of death was a pistol shot to the forehead. The shot was fired from point blank. Point blank, huh? So, about how far away is that? It's anywhere between 12 to 20 inches away. And how did you know he was shot at point blank? Tisk, Mr. Phoenix Wright. I grow tired of the foolish foolery of the foolish fools of this foolish country. Excuse me. Gunpowder burn. Gunpowder burn? When something is shot from point blank, a burn area is left around the bullet hole. Gunpowder exploding is what makes a bullet fire, and that gets real hot, pal. And there was definitely some gunpowder burns left on the victim's forehead. Wow, never knew that. Live and learn, I guess. You've been an attorney for how long, Phoenix? Before the victim was shot, he was stabbed. Stabbed? What was he stabbed with? A fruit knife. I see. And whose knife was it? It looks like it belongs to the face, sir. And of course, my face fingerprints are all over it. All over it, huh? This does not look good. What will you do now, Mr. Phoenix Wright? The wound was very severe, but not enough to cause instantaneous death. How severe was the wound? If it had been half an inch more to the right, it would have hit the victim's heart. After a stab like that, it's impossible to fight back, let alone stand. This testimony makes it sound like Maya had stabbed him with the intent to kill. Are you sure he was stabbed first, then shot? Yep. Sure as sure can be. One look at the wounds and you come to the same conclusion too, pal. A fool is a fool who will only listen to foolish opinions of other foolish fools. I think that's her favorite word, guys. The pistol shot to the forehead at point blank is certainly enough to kill instantly. Does it matter then which was first? Think a little before you open that big mouth of yours, Phoenix, right? What a pain. Nothing sounds out of place so far. I should try to learn more about the murder weapons for now. The murder weapon? Whose pistol was it? It was the victim's. The victim? Now, why would he have a pistol? Who cares? The point you are missing is whose fingerprints are on that pistol. If you're not already paying attention to that, then I suggest you start. Fingerprints? There were fingerprints? Along with the victims, the defendant, Maya Faye's, were also on the grip, sir. Oh, snap. So the defendant's fingerprints were left on the murder weapon. There, I walked right into her hands there. That's enough. We have clearly established how the victim was murdered. I brought the two murder weapons with me today. Very well. The court accepts them into evidence. Alright. Murder weapon was Gray's. 2 shots fired. The date and time of death was at 3:15. Eyewitnesses claim to have heard 2 gunshots at this time. And 2 murder weapons, both with the defendant's fingerprints on them. Huh. This does seem like an open and shut case. Naturally. This is going from bad to worse, as if the summary just now wasn't oversimplifying things to the extreme. Your Honor, feel free to slam that little gavel of yours. After all, there is no room left for doubts, is there? That is quite true, Mr. Wright. Yes. Even in the face of all this, do you still wish to plead not guilty? Is the opinion of this court that if you do not adjust your plea, you stand to lose? See? Just as I promised, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You would change your plea in less than 10 minutes. What will you do, Mr. Wright? Will you change to justified self-defense? Because now would be the time to do so. That is your final chance. This is a huge decision. I better think this through all the way. Excuse me. We're still pleading not guilty. If we plead justified self-defense, we would basically be confessing to murder. After the trial, Maya's life would be ruined and she'd be labeled as a murderer. I can't let that happen. Your Honor, have you reached a conclusion, Mr. Wright? Defense is not changing its plea. We will accept nothing short of complete acquittal. You have sealed your fate, Mr. Phoenix Wright, detective. Yes, sir? Present the final portion of your testimony, the final strike. Yes, sir. Now see here, proceedings are run by... Eek! Oh, yes, of course. Go ahead, detective, and give your testimony. I think the court would like to hear about the other piece of incriminating evidence. Sorry, pal, but there's an even more incriminating piece of evidence. This is the costume the defendant was wearing at the time of the crime. As you can see, it's covered in blood. The defendant attacked and killed a person who, without a doubt, was not fighting back. So this is the costume. There certainly is evidence of back spray of blood on this. This piece directly links Maya Faye to the crime, sir. I see. The court accepts this into evidence. Alright, Mr. Wright. Maya's fingerprints on both murder weapons and blood splatters on her clothes. Could this situation get any worse? Ah, what's wrong? You seem to be at a loss. I think this is the last piece of testimony the prosecution should have to offer. Feel free to sulk off with your tail between your legs, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Please stop calling me by my full name. It's disturbing. Sorry, pal. Why didn't you say so in your testimony earlier? Kinda scary today, you know, pal. Calm now, Mr. Wright. There is no need for that kind of attitude in my court. You literally have the prosecutor using a whip, and I'm not allowed to ask why this vital piece of information wasn't involved in the original testimony? Alright, just please stop glaring at me like that. This is the costume that they were wearing at the time of the crime. As you can see, it's covered in blood. This blood on the costume. Lab results show that it is the victim's blood. So there's blood from the victim on the defendant's clothes. Definitely not good. So, were there any other clues you can glean from this piece of evidence? Well... If you must change the topic, then the good detective here must testify again. But too bad. Not enough time. Let's move on. Yes, Miss Von Karma is perfectly correct. Grrr, now even the judge is on her side. But if I bite off more than I can chew here, what should I do? Press further. Why is Miss Von Karma suddenly putting up resistance? There must be a reason as to why she suddenly threw out an objection like that. Little bullet hole. I just have to look harder. It's alright. Miss Von Karma's logic is perfect. There's no way for you to poke a hole in it. Ah, looks like my time is up. So about the costume, there is one little thing. Your Honor, actually, there is something very wrong with this piece of evidence. What? What are you talking about, pal? What? Is there a problem you're talking about? I've come this far. There's no turning back now. The problem I have with this piece of evidence is here. I asked the court to please take a look at the sleeve of this costume. The sleeve? There's a tiny hole here. A hole? That wasn't in the report. Hold on. What's this around the hole? It smells faintly of gunpowder. Gunpowder? No one ever told me. A hole that smells of gunpowder. Wait, Mr. Judge, are you sniffing? Are you sniffing the clothes? It looks like I found the hole I was looking for. Your Honor, the only logical conclusion that you can make is that this must be a bullet hole. Order. This is a very grave matter. The best we can correct the court record first before anything else. Sorry about that. I guess we messed up, sir. Is she actually smiling? What else is she hiding? Pull yourself together, detective. That tiny hole doesn't change a thing. The strength of the evidence still holds. Continue with your testimony. That, just now, was a fluke. Nothing more. How can you say something like that? This is a huge oversight. While I agree it is a mistake on part of the police, what Prosecutor Von Karma said is true. The evidence still stands. If you do not find a more definitive problem with the evidence, then no way. Detective Gumshoe, please continue with your testimony. Yes, sir. The defendant attacked and killed a person who, without a doubt, was not fighting back. How do you know if he was or wasn't? We could find no evidence that the victim had put up any sort of a struggle, pal. So did the murderer have a fight with the victim or not? Depending on this, the circumstances around this murder change drastically. Ugh, we're in real trouble now. If only I had something to prove that the victim did fight back. That Von Karma, she thinks she can decide the verdict with this testimony alone. Well, I'll find a critical contradiction somehow, and then I'll have her. What do I have? Oh, I got this. Got it. So, like, with the... think with that bullet hole, that does show that he was fighting back. Detective Gumshoe. Yes? Having you call me by my full name is kind of a weird feeling. You said that my client killed a person who, without a doubt, was not fighting back. Yeah, I did. Then what, may I ask, is the bullet hole you police overlooked supposed to mean? What does it mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means that the victim had fired off a shot. Is this what it means to not fight back? Ah, you're right. It seems you are correct. If the victim had tried to shoot the defendant, then it would change everything. All right. The wind seems to be shifting. And she's gonna knock the wind out of us. What is with that "are you finished yet" laugh? Are you finished yet, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Miss Von Karma? It seems that Maya Fey was shot at by the victim. However, that is only grounds enough to support a justified self-defense plea. That is correct. But I'm sure you remember, Your Honor, what the defense clearly said. They rejected and pleaded not guilty. Now that you... Why, that's right. Which means the defense has yet to prove anything at all. No. Well, yes, that's true. Furthermore, just the fact that there is a bullet hole in the costume is not enough to substantiate even a plea of justified self-defense. Huh? How so? Don't just stand there. Hurry up and tell the court what transpired that day. With the new information we acquired added in, of course. You mean by myself? You want me to put together the scenario all by myself? Yes, sir. Right away, sir. During the channeling, the defendant saw her chance to stab the victim in the chest. Of course, the victim used the last of his strength to fight back, sir. While the two were fighting, the victim took out his gun. The victim took a shot, but because they were too close, he missed. The defendant then picked up on the opening, took the victim's gun, and ended it. Interesting. The scenario you've put together does make sense. Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Wright, on the surface, it does seem to make sense. However, I won't give up that easily. But please refrain from glaring at me like that. Now then, your cross-examination, please. Press. There's quite a difference in height between Dr. Gray and the defendant. Add in body strength, and it seems unlikely the defendant could have stabbed the victim. Now that you mention it, yeah, I guess. You think you can get away with such flimsy reasoning, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Maya Fey was in the middle of channeling, was she not? When channeling with the Korean channeling technique, the medium physically changes. With the nurse's build, the defendant could have easily been a match for the doctor. I don't believe it. She even studied up on the Korean channeling technique. Like I said before, I am perfect. About what you were talking about, I don't quite get it. Never mind. Let's continue with the testimony. Of course, the victim used the last of his strength to fight back. So he was stabbed, but the stab wound didn't kill him. But if you think about the blood loss, he was probably hurt pretty bad. How badly hurt would you say he was? Actually, I went to give blood the other day, and afterward, I felt a little lightheaded and dizzy. I guess the damage was maybe about 10 times the dizziness? Sorry. While the two were fighting, the victim took out his gun. Where in the world did that pistol come from? It looks like the victim, Dr. Gray, had specifically bought it for that day. But a handgun? He got it off the black market about 2 days before the murder. Why did Dr. Gray bring a gun? Was he taking precautions against something? Victim took a shot, but because they were too close, he missed. So, you're saying that the bullet hole in this costume was made then? I'm sorry, pal, but yeah, that's what I think. Two of them were already fighting when a shot was fired. Maya, I'm really glad you weren't hurt. The defendant then picked up the opening and took the victim's gun and ended it. Big press here. Maya had never fired a gun before in her life. The victim had already taken off the safety. With the safety off, even an amateur like you can fire it just by pulling the trigger. Even me? I wonder. Now, do you understand? Von Karma's logic is perfect. His testimony certainly makes us look very bad, but there's gotta be a contradiction in there somewhere, and uncovering it is going to uncover the truth. I can feel it. Oh, the music stopped. Missing the tiny hole on this costume will be the prosecution's undoing. Eh? What do you mean? This little hole has actually created a huge hole in your testimony. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. You said the two of them were fighting when the victim fired his gun at point blank. If that were true, then where is the gunpowder burn on the costume? Gunpowder burn? This is what you testified earlier. When something is shot from point blank, a burn area is left around the bullet hole. Oh, but there's not a single trace of gunpowder burn on this costume. That is a very good point. And what exactly does this mean? It means that when the shot was fired, they were standing apart from each other. I'm disappointed, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You think you can punch a hole in my logic with that? With wishy-washy thinking like that, anyone can explain anything away. Then I implore you to disprove my line of thinking. Let's see. In the middle of their fight, the victim pushed the defendant away, and it was then that they were separated and he fired. How was that? As if that was even possible. According to this testimony, the wound from the stabbing was very severe. The victim would not have had the strength to push the defendant very far after that. Well, then... That's right, the defendant must have pushed the victim away. After stabbing him, she must have put some space between the doctor and herself. And then, while she was preparing to strike again, the doctor took his shot. There, that should satisfy even you. That does make an awful lot of sense. What do you think, Mr. Wright? I must be careful. I can't afford to make a mistake here. Concentrate. Think. Something doesn't make sense. There's a fatal flaw in her argument, Your Honor. Fatal? Flaw? Very interesting. I would love to see where this flaw is. Show me something that contradicts my explanation. There has to be a snag in her explanation somewhere. She put some distance between them before rushing in to make the final blow. And when she was about to strike, the doctor took his shot. There must be a piece of evidence that contradicts this line of thinking. 8 inches off the ground? That wouldn't be preparing a strike. Let's try it. This is the piece of evidence that destroys your logic. What is that? A folding screen? I would like to point the court's attention to the hole in the folding screen. It looks like you already know what I'm talking about. Who? Where? What? Mr. Wright, your explanation, please. Are these two really that clueless? The bullet went through the defendant's sleeve first, and then the folding screen. It passed through at a height of approximately 8 inches off the ground, which means... when the shot was fired, Maya, the defendant, was not getting ready to strike, but was actually squatting low to the ground. Order. This changes everything. Please, look at this diagram of the crime scene. The victim, Dr. Gray, was here when he fired the shot. and then the bullet hit this folding screen. At this location, about 8 inches off the ground. At this time, the defendant was in this area. Wait. Oh no. Oh no. I mean, it makes sense if she's like over here, because then if he missed. Uh-oh. George's face is scratched up like he smelled some bad breath. That is, I mean... Wait, I forgot to brush this morning. Excuse me while I freshen up. Sure. In the meantime, I want you to think these through again. No. I love that line. But done is done. For now, I should focus. I mean, maybe closer? Like she's preparing something for the ceremony? She was standing here, near the folding screen. Wait a second. Okay, that sounds like progress. We know the defendant was close to the ground based on the height of the bullet hole, but how can you gauge the distance from that? Isn't it possible that the defendant was standing much closer to the victim? That's impossible. But why? You, of all people, should know the answer to that question, Miss Von Karma. If she were shot from somewhere close, there would be gunpowder burns present. However, there is nothing of the sort around the bullet hole of this costume. Curse you, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You. I believe that it's now been proven that the defendant was standing a ways from the victim when she was shot at. But do you think that has changed the defendant's situation? Changes everything. Honestly, Your Honor, this changes everything. The prosecution has claimed that the defendant was aiming to kill by stabbing. And if that were true, delivering the final strike with the knife would be ideal. However, where and what was the defendant doing at the time? Squatting all the way by the folding screen? Exactly. If Maya Fey was the real murderer, why would she be by the folding screen instead of preparing to strike? Yeah. Upon further consideration, it does make very little sense. Yeah, I figured there had to be a reason. Figuring things out and proving your logic behind everything is your job. Alright, with this, the rest of the child should be in the last radius of disaster. You are such a smart man, Mr. Phoenix Wright. To think that you have been able to completely hopeless case to this point. Now I know why Papa had a tough time with you. You amuse me. Ugh, of all the things to inherit, why did it have to be that smarmy smile? Detective, how dare you damage my perfect logic? Huh? How was it my fault? You can start by repairing your standing by first removing that 3-strand goatee. Oh, and rest assured, your punishment will come later. Your punishment? Well then, Your Honor, I think I've had all I can take of this detective's face. I think it's time to call in the next witness. Next witness. That's gotta be Lotta. Very well. The court will take a 5-minute recess. After we reconvene, we will hear from the next witness.